Hi folks, Dave with dbstechtalk. Today we're going to talk about the Hifiman Arya, a headphone that I have wanted to review for a really long time. A headphone that I've only heard a few times prior to it coming in for a review, and a headphone that, yeah, it's unique, and it does a lot of stuff that is so good and so right and so impressive. But is it my choice? Alright, so the Hifiman Arya comes in this nice little box. It's actually fairly small. Has pictures all over it. On the back side here, it has some specs. So it'll tell you that it has a frequency response of 8 Hz to 65 kilohertz, an impedance of 35 ohms, sensitivity of 90 dB, and it weighs 404 grams or 14.3 ounces. You take off your lid here, set that back there, get some foam, just like all Hifimans. You get an Arya book, and it's got more pictures in it. All kinds of information. Talks about Hifiman, the headphone overview, about the different types of diaphragms in it, and all kinds of good stuff. There's all kinds of neat information regarding it. Then here you are. Here's the inside. Take off the little piece and it'll reveal a cable. It's an alright cable. It's actually one of the better fabric cables from Hifiman. Does have a big huge quarter. Some nice strain relief on it. It's not bad, a little kinky, but it's not as stiff as some that come from Hifiman, so it's not bad. And then you get your headphones. Now these have been slightly modified by the person that sent them in for comfort. So just keep that in mind. Set all that back there. Alright, so here are your headphones, the Arya. As you can see, he did put a little comfort strap up top there. And it helps a little bit. You have this little pleatherish head strap with sliders that make nice clicking noises. You've got quite a expansive amount of headroom for it. Swivels all the way around. Does have a little bit of squeaking to it. Not too bad. And the cups don't go all the way. They're a little stiff. But you should be able to get pretty much any fit that you need on your head. It's very open. You can see the big huge drivers in there. And they're pretty thin. So if you lay them down on your hand, they lay pretty flat and are fairly thin. Little Hifiman branding, little Arya branding. Hifiman's starting to wear off on there a little bit. On the insides here it says L and R. Overall, I find that they're very light, very attractive. They're all black. And one thing that I do notice is when you have them on your head and you adjust, you get a little bit of resonance from the grills and stuff. Like if you touch them, it'll ring a little bit. Wears off pretty quickly. You don't really hear it with music playing, but you do notice it when they're sitting on your head. Also, with the stock cable in, if you wiggle the cable around a little bit, you can hear it just a little bit also. But being nitpicky there. Overall, I find the build to be very good. Comfort extremely well. Nice and light. I can wear these forever. No problems at all. But we're not here just to talk about the look and feel of them. We're here to talk about the sound. And the Arya, as soon as you put them on, whether or not you've heard one of these egg-shaped, oval-shaped, massive planars before, or if you've heard an open back before or not, or if you've heard a planar before, it doesn't matter. They're going to impress you. These are insanely good. I put them on and immediately was like, yep, these are fantastic. Okay, spoiler done, review done, moving on. Now, all right, how do they truly sound? Overall, they have a very speedy attack. They are very detailed, very punchy and dynamic, and they have amazing detail resolution and a soundstage that is immersive and engaging and so layered and so deep, it will just wow you. All right, so the bass. The bass is very linear. It is so straight across. Very extended. It reaches nice and deep. You can get nice sub-bass presence, very good details, extremely good clarity, and the most insane resolution in the bass. These things are just crazy how deep they will ride. And they are very punchy, very dynamic. You can just feel it. You can feel it in your chest. You can feel it on your ears. And the bass is just incredible. It's so detailed and just clarity beyond clarity in the detail, in the mids, in the bass. Mids. I was looking at my notes here. The mids are very detailed. They're a little bit on the thicker side, have a little bit of warmth. I did not remember that before from hearing them previous times, but they have a very nice lushness to them and a very thickness to them. They are extremely detailed. You can hear the finite movements on instruments. You can hear people scuffing their feet on the floor during an orchestra. You can just... every little detail that comes through in the mids, it's there. But there's a 5K peak, and it's just enough and just in the wrong spot to kind of make things sound slightly enhanced and artificial. To me, it doesn't truly sound natural. It has a little bit of like a metallicness to the tones and to the timbre. Not enough to be like off-putting or anything, but it's enough to say these don't have that natural quality about them. And then the treble. The treble is nice and bright, very airy. It has insane clarity in a very black, dark ground. I mean, it's just... nothing's getting through. These things have such clarity and cleanness. And the details are just amazing in the treble. But there's a little bit of 8 to 10K rise, a little bit of peakiness there. And to me, it just brings in just a little bit of harshness and graininess. It's not present all the time, and prominent all the time, but it's enough to be off-putting for me. And it's just... It just makes it so it doesn't sound smooth in the treble at all times. But other than that, it's an insane treble. Soundstage and imaging. We already kind of discussed that. Soundstage is wide, expansive. Things just fly around your head. And it's tall, and it's deep. It goes down low. It goes really far in, really far close. It's just incredible. But it does have a little bit of a center focus. The center image is a little more prominent than everything else. And it does a nice job of bringing in the details and really showing them off. But to me, it just sounds a little bit enhanced. It doesn't sound quite natural. But it's a very enjoyable soundstage. It's just craziness. The details and resolution, though, is what really does it for me. And the dynamics of it. It's just the speed and the clarity that it does it, and the control of it. It's not too fast. It's not too slow. I mean, it sounds like it should. I mean, it's just crazy good on the detail retrieval and the resolution. And it's an amazing headphone. And I truly love it. But do I love it enough to replace it from my Ananda? Is it enough to take my Ananda off the shelf? A couple differences. So first and foremost, the Ananda has a different build. Has, in my opinion, a little bit stiffer of a headband, but a little bit more durable feeling. I like the swivel of the Arya, but I like the headband structure better on the Ananda. So if the Ananda had the swivel cups, but this headband, it would be awesome. I don't think they could ever implement that, but I do like it. But either or are very extremely comfy. These weigh 399 grams, so I mean, they're essentially the same weight. But truthfully, the Ananda feels a little heavier. I don't know why. They just feel heavier in the hand. Sound-wise, that's where the difference comes in. And to me, the Ananda is not quite as punchy and not as dynamic in the bass. It still extends as well. It's still as linear, still as detailed. It does lack just a small amount of speed and decay resolution that the Arya has, but it's very minimal. I mean, it's extremely subtle. You can barely hear a difference. You really have to listen. In the mids, the Ananda doesn't suffer from that 5K peak, and to me, it sounds more natural and has better tone and timbre, in my opinion. It doesn't have that enhancement like the Arya does. And then in the treble, the Ananda is more smooth, and it's a little bit more rounded, and in my opinion, is more pleasant sounding. Also, it doesn't have that 8K to 10K peak. It kind of dips a little bit in that area. And in my opinion, that helps to smooth out that little bit of harshness and graininess that you can get on the Arya. As far as details and resolution, both are extreme. I mean, in my opinion, these are the two best detail and resolving headphones that I've ever heard. They're insane with the amount of details that you get, the way they resolve them, the way they present them. The Ananda does present them a little bit more assertively, and excuse me, didn't mean to bump my microphone there. And the Arya is a little bit more, not quite as aggressive in the presentation of the details, but in my opinion, because of the way that the treble is, and the way that the 5K peak there in the upper mids is on the Arya, the Ananda is the smoother and more pleasant sounding one. Soundstage wise, the Arya has a slightly wider soundstage than the Ananda, but is very minimal. And in my opinion, the Arya does a better job in the soundstage as far as being taller, deeper, and go a little bit lower and have a little bit more immersion on it. But the Ananda, in my opinion, is more cohesive across the way, even though it doesn't have quite the layering. And again, it's a very minimal, I mean, extremely, they're really close. Very minimal difference in that. But the Ananda, in my opinion, is a little bit better in just portraying it as a more smoothness and cohesiveness across the way, whereas the Arya is a little more engaging and a little bit more just immersive. But there's another headphone that we can talk about, and that is the Edition X V2. And so the Arya was sent over by a subscriber and a friend on Discord, and the Edition XX was loaned at the same time. And so I got to hear the Edition X, and I must say it reminds me of another headphone that I had. So here it is. Here's the box. Actually, this box is a lot nicer than the Arya. I was really surprised at that. I was like, man, you would think that this would be the Arya box, and the more plain Jane box would be the Edition X, but no. So anyways, the Edition X V2, you open it up, you get your little foam, you get your book, you get some paperwork, and then you get your headphones, and oh boy, these cables. But actually, I don't mind these cables. I've gotten used to them since I have them with the Ananda. And these are better implemented than the cables that came with the Edition XX. The Edition XX wins the award for about the worst cable ever. The Edition X V2 and the Ananda both seem to have a little bit better quality cable. I'm not exactly sure the difference, because they look identical, but they just feel better on the Edition X V2 and on the Ananda. So anyways, the V2 is same headband, or very similar headband as the Arya, and it's totally different than the one on the Ananda. You get the climb and the build, you get the swivel. These cups do go all the way around. You lay it flat just like the Ananda, I'm sorry, not the Ananda, just like the Arya. Does seem to be a little bit thicker. And on the back side here, it says that the Edition X V2 has a frequency response of 8 Hz to 50 kilohertz. It's 25 ohms and 103 decibels of sensitivity. And it weighs 399 grams. So it actually weighs the same amount as the Ananda. But the weird thing is, the Ananda feels heavier. I don't get it. They weigh exactly the same. It must be the way that headband fits it or something. I'm not exactly sure. But when they're on your head, they all feel the same. Really, you don't really notice a difference between the 5 grams. Alright, so comfort's basically the same as it is on the Arya and on the Ananda. I can wear these for hours. The difference is this one, because it's an older model, does have 2.5 millimeter ends instead of 3.5s. So you have to have a different cable. And these are easy to drive. They're actually a little easier to drive than the Ananda. You can run them off of DAPs and off of phones and dongles and things like that, and it works. I do recommend an amplifier with them. They tend to benefit from having a little bit extra juice, but you can run them portable, just like the Ananda. The Arya, not really. You need some juice to push those. So the Arya is by far the hardest to drive of the three. The Edition XX reminds me of the V2. The only difference is between the Hex V2 and the Edition XX is the V2 is more airy and seems to have a little bit better smoothness to it. And I haven't heard an Edition XX in quite a while, because I did sell it in order to get my Ananda. But the Hex V2 really brought back my Ananda, my Edition XX love. It's got a warmer tone to it. It's a very lush sound to it. But in my opinion, it doesn't resolve as well as either one of the others. And it doesn't do as good at the detail retrieval. It's just not, even though it's smooth and very lush and very romantic sounding, it just misses out on the finite details. So price-wise, these are still rather pricey. The Hex V2 is a little up there in price. I think they're still running about $750, $800 on the used market. As far as I know, you cannot buy them from Hifiman anymore. I believe they've been discontinued. You can buy an Edition XX open box on the Hifiman store, and it's going for, I believe, $450. And if you really want a V2 and you can't find one, or it's not quite in your budget, the Edition XX is close. I mean, the only thing that you're really missing is a little bit more air and a little bit more energy up top in the treble. But the differences between the others really plays significantly, and it's a step up, in my opinion, to the Ananda. And where I find the differences between the Ananda is more linear between the two in the bass, and it has a more airy, faster decay in the bass than the Hex V2. The V2 is just more dynamic and punchy, and has a little bit more gumption down there. In the mids, the Ananda is more neutral. It's more natural and a cleaner sound, whereas the Hex V2 has a more warmer, lusher, thicker sound, but is not quite as accurate in tone and timbre. Excuse me. Sorry about that. People walking by on the street. Don't people know I'm trying to record a video? Anyways, so in the mids, the Ananda is more neutral, more natural sounding tone and timbre. And then in the treble, the Hex V2 is got a little bit warmer sound, but also at the same time can be a little peaky and has a slightly more grain in it. As far as soundstage, the Hex V2 is a little bit more fuzzy on the imaging, doesn't do as good as in precision placement as the Ananda or the Arya. And overall, though, I find it to be a very cohesive and detailed, balanced sound on the Hex V2. I really enjoy it. I mean, these three, if we can put all three here in the picture, really complement each other extremely well. And you can't go wrong with either one of them. I'm so impressed by all of them. How would I rank them? I would rank them in this order off of technicalities. So technicality wise, I would say first off, you would have number 3 is Edition X V2, the Ananda, then the Arya. Technically, the Arya is superior than the other 3 as far as its abilities and capabilities of what it can do. It is the better of them. So if you're looking for the most detailed, all the extra stuff that comes with it, dynamics, punchiness, all that kind of stuff, in my opinion, the Arya is supreme. But if you've been listening to my channel for a long time, you've been following me, details isn't everything. Technicality isn't everything. And when I'm listening to music, when I'm testing gear and all that, I want to be able to enjoy it. I want to be able to hear the details, hear the clarity, hear the accuracy, hear all of everything, but yet be engaged, be comfortable, and enjoy it. And when it comes to that, third place goes to the Arya. Second place goes to the Edition X V2. And first place goes to the Ananda. And the reason is the Ananda is just smoother, cleaner, resolves a little bit more smoothly, and just has the more cohesive soundstage. Even though the Arya has that massive, immersive, engaging wowzers, everything's just all around us and just, going through, on the soundstage, it's not what I'm looking for when it comes to the treble or the mids. It just has that slightly metallic sounding in the mids. It doesn't sound natural. And then the treble has that peak, and that just kind of gets me in the wrong spot. The Edition XX is warm and engaging and lush and smooth, and it is, but it lacks a little bit of resolution for me. And for me, the Ananda just does everything right. And the Ananda still remains my favorite of the three. But honestly, you can't go wrong with any of them. And if you are looking for the little brother of them, and you're willing to sacrifice chintzy build quality for a little bit less air, a little bit less energy in the treble, a little bit more warmth in the mids, a little bit grainier and compressed sound, the Edition X, the Edition XX that Hifiman is selling as an open box is a very good option also. So in my opinion, the Arya, it's a good one. I love it, but I don't love it. It's the girlfriend that I so wanted, but I just can't love her quite enough. That's the way yeah. That's how I would explain it. It's, man, I so want this girl to be my girlfriend, and I'm sure I could love her. And then once you get on a date, and once you start to really know her, you just can't quite love her like you thought you were going to. Here you go, Arya. Whereas the Ananda is my dream girl, and it's the dream girl that meets all of my expectations. And I love her more each and every day. There. Strangest analogy ever. Who knows? It might stay in the video or not. Hifiman. Awesomeness. Gentlemen that sent in the Arya and the Edition X V2, thank you very much. Greatly appreciated. Links down below for all the mentioned stuff. And I have forgotten something. And I have forgotten something very important. So disregard that I just said that. How does it all play with this here on the desk? Let's get this out of the way. How does it play with all this? So we have the THX AAA 788. Or no, I'm sorry, not 788, 789. The THX AAA 789. And it's being sourced by the Liberty DAC from Mytek. All three of them sound fantastic on it. Sound in just smooth, clean, clear. Oh, I love it. The Gishelli Enoch 2 going into the Archel and the Archel 2 on single-ended. Sounds alright. Have decent enough power. Does distort a little bit onto Arya. I'm not exactly sure, but it just doesn't match up quite very good. It's not that it doesn't have enough power. It's just, I don't know, something just doesn't sound quite right. But the Ananda and the Edition X V2 sound very good on that. Moving over to the Arish. The Arish is being powered by the Grace Design S-DAC Balance. And the Arish sounds very good on all three. Plenty of power for all three. Absolutely love it. And very good matchup. Highly recommend that matchup. If you're looking for a budget amplifier and DAC, the Grace Design S-DAC Balanced and the Gishelli Arish. Fantastic matchup. And then, something that you can't see on screen very well is back. See if I can get out of the way here. There we go. Right here is the Lake People RS-08, and it is connected to the Mytek Liberty. And it has an insanely good sound, plenty of power, no problem whatsoever with the RS-08. I mean, that thing is powerful, beyond powerful, and very clean sound, and it's insanely hard to tell the difference between the RS-08 and the 789. I mean, they're like that close together. Mytek Liberty come out single-ended. Powers all three. They all sound great. So it works fantastic. And as I said, the Edition XX and the Ananda can be run on portable devices. You just need a little bit more extra oomph. And then also the Edition XX does sound the best of the three when it comes to portable. Alright. That should end this review. And wow, this thing was a mess. But dogs barking, people walking around by the street, thoughts all over the place. That's what'll happen when you listen to the Hifiman Arya, the Hifiman Ananda, and the Hifiman Edition X V2. They're just insane, and they just make your brain go, wow, these are good. And then when you try to explain it, you're like, kind of like I was for the last 30 minutes. Hifiman Arya edition. Okay. The Hifiman Arya. The girlfriend that I dreamed of and that I thought I could love. But I just can't get quite there to say I love you. It's been Dave with DBS Tech Talk. Thank you for watching. And I'll catch you in the next video. Speaking of next video, somewhere on the screen, subscription link, notification bell. Check out the links down below for all the gear that was mentioned and for where you can purchase it and for playlists that were used to do the review, how you can support the channel, and how you can ask me questions, reach me on Discord, PayPal, all kinds of good stuff. Check out the links down below. Oh, there's Patreon down there too. So check out the links down below. Thanks. And have yourself a great day.